From JA to UK to LA and everywhere else now, this is a podcast strictly influenced by Jamaican music, brought to you by Eric Kohler and Junor Francis. Well, if you're driving in your car or you're sitting home alone, the Junior entertain you on his microphone with the history of LA Ska. Yeah, hear stories from a guest while we all have a blast. From LA to Jamaica, it's in the podcast. The history of LA Ska. Of LA Ska, yeah. It's the history. Yes, it is. Of LA Ska. History of LA Ska, yeah. It's the history. Yes, it is. Of LA Ska. Of LA Ska. It's the history of LA Ska. One more time, yeah. It's the history of LA Ska.
Welcome to the History of LA Ska one-on-one sessions. I'm Junor Francis, your host, alongside our producer and my good friend, Eric Kohler. Now, this series celebrates the ska, rocksteady, and vintage reggae scene in Southern California and beyond through insightful conversations with legends and modern-day talent, including those behind the scene. And we have plenty of people working behind the scene, as always, to make this successful. Hence, whether you listen to this podcast series or watch us on YouTube, we really and truly want to thank you for your time and the love. Please remember to subscribe and tell as many people as you possibly can to subscribe so that we can continue to do our work. Our guests today are two members of the veteran group, the Skeletons. My goodness, I've known them for what seems like eternity. Keyboardist Paul Hampton and, of course, singer Jonas Cabrera. Two wonderful gentlemen who I've known since 1989 when I did my first show in Montebello. And welcome.
Yes, welcome, Paul.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Paul, great to see you again. You were a part of our panel discussion number 4 that we did at the Grand Museum latter part of last year, I believe it was.
Yes.
November.
So welcome back. And Jonas, it's been a little while. This is great to see you.
Yeah,
and really appreciate you guys joining us today. We're gonna dive into your careers, but we actually want to work backwards. Let's actually start by talking about a very exciting upcoming festival, a punk ska festival in Pomona, California, called No Values, and that is on June 8th. Why is now, and is that the place for Skeletones to come back together? I don't want to use the word reunite, but come back together and perform. And this for either of you or both of you.
Well, I mean, I can tell you how it all happened. I just got that, like, I've known Paul too late. Like, he's a part of all of us. We've known him, just Golden Voice, huge impact in just all of our lives, and through our many years of performing for Golden Voice, we've got a solid relationship. Him, Bill Fold, the whole Coachella crew, everyone is just amazing. We've got nothing but love for all them. And Paul Toulé just called me up and was just just wanted to tell me personally how much him and Bill love the Skeletones.
Wow.
Like, those were his words, and how they would love to have us perform at this No Values gig. And it was before they had a name, or it was before they had a full lineup. So it was probably January of this year, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I said, yeah, so, and like when I did your thing, when we did the History of Ska LA at the Grammy, one of the audience members asked, they posed a question, so are we going to see Skeletones soon?
I remember that.
I said, yes, you will. So I willed it into existence.
Yeah, you did. That's amazing. That's amazing. And did it take a lot of convincing of the rest of the guys?
I think Jonas feels the same way too about on him.
Couple of things. So Paul, he's the founder of the group, but not only that, he's done tremendous work as far as being the liaison, not only a band member, but all of the business stuff. So I give him a lot of credit for that, because he's constantly networking and keeping us connected to all things music with regard to booking shows, tours, and then eventually we pass that baton on to other people that do that for us. But Paul's always been there for that, and super, super grateful for that. So there's that. But like Paul said, I mean, it's crazy how the world works and how the universe works. Paul Talley and Bill Fold, these guys, they're just one of the homies, just regular guys. It's kind of like we all went to high school together. We all went and we grew up together, and our careers just continue to grow and grow. And now they're doing Coachella, which is like the biggest festival in the world.
Right.
And the beauty of it is they're still regular people, right? And we're grateful for that as well, because, money, fame, fortune sometimes changes the dynamic of a person. And Bill and Paul have always been the same, and we've always been the same, right. So with regard to that, I'm super grateful that everybody is still humble and still real with each other. And the fact that Paul Talley reached out to Paul and gave us that respect, it means a lot for me, because they could have written us off a long time ago. But it's just a family thing, and I'm just grateful for all that, Absolutely. I don't know if I answered the question, but yeah.
Extremely well said. I was going to say extremely well said.
But yeah, we're going back, right? So that's
This is amazing. I mean, I'm personally thrilled, and I know a lot of people that are, and you guys are, and we're going to dive more into this as well. But you guys are definitely one of the bridges, between not only the 80s, 90s type of ska, but also the bridge between ska and punk too. So you serve more differences. So
really quick too. We're kind of an anomaly as well with regard to our band. We've never been in a drama situation where we're like, we hate each other, we'll never play again. We've always been together. We've never broken up. Sometimes you do a lot, sometimes you slow down. And in our case, it was just kind of a normal thing where, you're getting married, you're having kids, responsibilities, and things just started kind of slowing down. But we've never broken up. We've always been together. We're, it's a second family, right? So for us, we're always there. We're always supportive of each other, regardless if we're doing other things with other bands or projects. We've always been the Skeletones. We'll always be the Skeletones forever. So I don't see anything like that ever happening where we're like, oh, we just can't get together. No,
Right.
So,
right.
But grateful for that as well.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From the horse's mouth, not second hand. So here's a question for you both. You're also going to support the Selector at the Glass House alongside Bite Me Bambi on June the 9th. That's following day. So you'll be doing a double in Pomona. Fantastic. So how important was the two-tone and ska to the formation of the band?
Man, the Selector was, and I told the story for those that were there. That was my introduction into ska music.
Where were you living at the time?
What was that?
Where were you living at the time?
I was in Riverside. I was in Riverside. This was back in high school. This is when I was, this was pre-Skeletones, pre being in a band. This was, 9th grade. And I was always weird, weird kid growing up, I like goth music and punk and toy dolls and, but I didn't really have anything that I fell into, until I saw those, a bunch of rude boys and, mods hanging out at Castle Park in Riverside, California. And I was just enamored by by just this look. Cause they, how, the mod look or the ska, they kind of have a lot of similarities, but the bowling shoes, the contrast, the clothes, it's like punk rock meets, shark for the most part, so that was like my deal. And I'm like, and I went to a private school, so I was into like penny loafers already, and it was preppy, so I was already into polo shirts, but they were Lauren polo shirts and Bass Weegian penny loafers, you know. So I already had the penny loafer part. But yeah, the selector was, I went to Licorice Pizza one time, and because it was in the mall, and I used to go to the mall a lot, and I went into Licorice Pizza and saw a cassette of On My Radio and was just like, you know, blown away by that cover, because it reminded me of those guys I saw at Castle Park wearing the suits and, you know, the whole thing. And I took that home and listened to that, and that was just, I don't know, you know, that ska, that two-tone ska that just gets you right in your core. You know, it's so authentic. So
for the record, what year was that?
That was probably 84, 83, 84. Yeah, I was 14 years old. You know, 9th grade. So it was like 84, right when Van Halen's 1984 came out, which that's also another badass album.
It is.
But yeah, and then
what a pleasant discovery. So that changed your mind, eh? I mean, your life.
Well, it was, yeah, and you know how, but Jonas was saying earlier how the universe operates. Here we, you know, fast forward 10 years after that, 94 or early, you know, right after the Red album, before, you know, Dr. Bones, we go on tour with the Selector, you know, and that was just,
that was so real.
it was amazing. Yeah. You know, so we go on tour with Selector,
and how many dates did you do with them? Do you remember?
That was a full US tour. So we did at least 20 shows, if not more.
Wow.
We did somewhere around 20 shows, right?
It was like 3 weeks, you know, like, you know, show it. Yeah, it was
somewhere close to that.
It was a good run. Yeah, no, it was a good 3-4 weeks like Jonas was saying.
It was West Coast all the way to the East Coast. So it was California all the way to New York City, and New York was actually the ending of that tour.
Okay.
And what year was that now?
I don't know the exact. Do you remember the year? I think
that was the late, I would say late 90s, right?
Was it late 90s? I thought
it was 90. Was it like 96, 97, or maybe it was somewhere around there?
I'd have to
mid to late 90s.
I have to validate that. I want to think it was before Dr. Bones, and we recorded that, and that was 96.
So maybe mid 90s.
Like 94, 95.
Yeah.
Right before everybody, because everybody blew up in 96 for the most part. That's when Sublime's record came out. No doubt. 96 was like, 95, 96 was like, that was the major point.
Third wave was coming out.
Jonas, the two-tone, do you remember when you first discovered two-tone?
Yeah, so my story is I have a brother that's 5 years older than me. So all of my influences were from him. But for me personally, I've always been into music ever since I was like 5 years old. Like, I've just always been connected to music. That's just been my life. Mm-hmm. So my brother turned me on, just like Paul said, the 80s was such an explosion of different genres within that decade. And every genre was freaking amazing. New wave, punk, ska, reggae, rock and roll. I mean, everything was amazing at that time. But I latched onto the ska thing, and I don't know what it was, but it just, like Paul said, it just, the look of it, you know, the suits, the scooters, the attitude. And then I've always also been a big message person. So like songs that have to do with like the human condition and us getting together and fighting against the system, all of that I'm super, super connected to, you know? So all of that was a perfect mix for me. And I was in Riverside as well. And the first album that I ever bought was, this was Post Specials. It was the Special AKA. Okay. And they had this album, and it was Free Nelson Mandela.
Wow.
So with Elvis Costello. Yeah. And so I bought that album. And Paul, I bought that album in Woodcrest because there was a little tiny store in this shopping mall, and it was a lady that owned it. And she was like one of the only ladies that had like the ska buttons and the ska music available. And so I used to frequent that store, and that's kind of where I used to go. There was another place called Mad Platter,
Yes.
which was kind of like Amoeba is. Yeah. And that was another place you would go to get like, you know, underground independent type of music and stuff. But from there, I was hooked. I was locked in. I started playing trumpet when I was 11 years old.
Wow.
And the crazy thing about a kind of a little snippet side note is the way that I even met the Skeletones was I went to go see No Doubt open up for the Untouchables in Palm Springs. And I met Rick Bonin, who's in the band, a keyboard player for the Skeletones. And that turned into me trying out for the band, and they accepted me, and the rest is history. But that all came together within like a handful of years for me. So I started really, really young. I mean, I literally was in middle school when I joined the Skeletones. Wow. So I was super, 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 super young. But,
I remember, and you know what's funny too, Jonas, I don't know if you remember this. Oh, by the way, the Selector album was Too Much Pressure, not on my radio.
Yeah, Too Much Pressure.
But that song is on that album.
Yeah.
I very, very, very first met Jonas when he was 13 years old, and his brother Arnie came up when I was staying in I spent summers at this apartment where a bunch of punks.
Flipper.
Flipper. And,
all those guys. And Ryan Martinez.
Yeah, it was like a squad.
But they were more gothic at that time. We were listening to like Cramps and all that.
That's why I was all in the goth Christian Death and shit.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why I was all into that kind of stuff. And and it was a part where they paid rent. It was legit. They weren't squatting somewhere and like, dystopian out, kind of thing. It was, it was a legitimate thing, but we all just crashed there. And one time you and Arnie came in to some party that we had, and he was a rude boy, you had your trench coat on, you came in and I remember that. I remember that vividly. It was you and Arnie. Arnie kind of, I think he knew Flipper. You guys hung out for maybe like an hour and then ended up leaving. But that was my first time meeting John. And I kind of met Arnie at that time, but he was a kid. Jonas he was a kid.
Yeah, and at that time too, in the early 80s, it was few and far between, right? So if you saw someone that was representing ska or mod, like you hardly ever saw anybody doing that at that time. So if you ever saw someone like that and you're into that, you're like instantly like, hey, I got to talk to this guy, or, hey, what's going on with this guy, because you don't really see a lot of that at that time,
But you mentioned the special album.
Yeah.
I used to dismiss two-tone as by and large a corruption of ska, rocksteady and reggae and everything that I grew up listening to. I did have some tolerance for steel pulse. But I remember when I heard that song, Nelson Mandela, I think I got convered.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay. It's tough.
Yeah.
And now you appreciate
it. And also appreciate the fact that a lot of these bands were two-tone bands, a lot of the musicians.
Yeah.
Right. They had their parents are from Jamaica. Some of them were my neighbors,
Yeah.
Realize you can't be so prejudiced.
Yeah. And then, also the type of, so what was crazy too was before I even knew about two-tone ska and the second wave with the UK representing that genre, I was listening to a lot of Studio One early, like before I even knew what two-tone ska was, I was listening to Bob Marley singing ska music,
Wow.
One Love, like the ska version of One Love and Studio One. I knew nothing about specials or selector. I didn't know anything really about that. So technically I was listening to that first.
Oh, that's amazing. Wait,
and then
so how did you get turned on to the OG, to the original ska?
My brother again, and then also Riverside, college radio is amazing, right?
Yeah,
so KUCR,
yes,
it was the college station I would listen. So on the weekends they would play reggae, they would play rocksteady, they would play early reggae and early ska, And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Because, 80s reggae versus, the stuff that I knew nothing about the 50s and the 60s ska music from Jamaica. Once that happened, that was why I wanted to play trumpet, because I started listening to, all the horns, and then I got turned on to the Scada lights, and that really just blew my mind. So I was like, I want to play trumpet, and then I ended up, and then I'm always singing to all the songs, So that's kind of where the whole singing thing came in for me, because I never was like, oh, I want to be a singer, but I was like, I want to play an instrument for sure. So I picked trumpet, and then that kind of turned into singing. So that's kind of the transition for me, but yeah.
That's so great.
Right. So I want to ask both of you, what was the Southern California scene like in, to the best of your collection, early 80s, early mid 80s, the overall scene?
Yeah. So
early 80s, early 90s.
Well, Paul, maybe right before.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Right before the Skeletones.
I got to get another red stripe.
You're too far with that. Stop tempting us.
Yeah, so Paul, so maybe right before the Skeletones were formed.
Yeah.
It seemed like.
That is when I got it. Yeah. So that's so early 80s, 83, 84.
Okay. So did you venture much out of Riverside?
No, I mean, no, not until like when I got in the scene, when I hooked up with those guys, Rick Anderson, they were mods, the late great Freddie Eddy, Mike Mars. These are all guys that I grew up with that were heavy into the mod scene. And then we got into scooters, we became like, they were already into scooters, but they got me into scooters. And I ended up, getting a scooter, but we would go to Orange County. We would go to like, you remember that place in Orange County where you would go and get docks? It was freaking square.
Electric chair?
Electric chair. But
that was in Riverside, but yeah.
Well, no, they had one in
in Orange County?
Yeah, but it was called the what was that? It's it's the square. It'll come to me in this conversation.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think.
You're talking about getting your gear, your ska gear?
Yeah. I got my first pair of docks there. Going to Orange County, and then you had Scooterville, which was Scott Chain, and that's where I bought my second scooter. And this was all before the Skeletones. So being in this, I'm in 9th grade, going into 10th grade, and that summer is when I got my first scooter. Got it at Scooterville, and we would go, we'd go to Orange County, and we would go to Hollywood. We would go to Melrose too. We would drive to Melrose and go to like Posers and like.
That's where I got my dock. My first docks was in Hollywood, Melrose.
Well, Melrose had all that stuff.
We had all that.
Manas, all that shit.
Yep.
But it was an event. It wasn't. He was like, "We're going to Melrose," It's like, "Let's go,"
I did a rude boy thing getting my docks. I was in middle school, so my buddy of mine, Chris, we stole his grandparents' car to drive to LA to go shopping, and so we went to Hollywood, and I was like, I have to get Doc Martens, and I got Doc Martens, and and we actually broke down on the way back, and his grandparents caught us. That's how they caught us. But I got my Doc Martens, man.
Right.
I got my Doc Martens. Yeah.
Doc Martens, monkey boots.
Right.
Remember monkey boots? They even make monkey boots anymore?
I don't know, but I want a pair.
They like went away. Like you can still get Jacks and Creepers, but monkey boots were like, they were a thing. Black monkey boots. And then they just kind of.
Hey, what was there was another store like that in San Bernardino right next to the Windjammer. Was it called the Windjammer? But that sold stuff like that.
Oh.
But it was crazy because I used to go there all the time to buy the same stuff, like the braces and all that stuff. And one of the guys from Sublime was in there, and that was at the time where both of our bands were still kind of coming up. We weren't really necessarily that big yet. And we just both kind of gave each other kind of a respectful nod. But everybody was doing the same thing, we all were going to the same places, Because there wasn't a lot of those places, right? It's
Right.
just like the one little specific place.
Yeah.
You
You
know?
have to seek him out.
Yeah, everybody was going to the same places.
Right.
Paul, I want to shoot this question. So when exactly was the skeleton formed, and how did it all come together? And who are the original members, so we can, pay some respect?
So there's basically 3 phases of the Skeletons, right? The very first phase of the Skeletons was I played guitar, and I stuck at it. I was so bad that they're like, dude, you can't play guitar. Why don't you play keyboard? So I was like, okay.
Did you ever play keyboard prior to?
The what?
Were you a keyboard player?
Well, I grew up around the piano. My mother played piano, so I was better at. But I took guitar lessons. I just wasn't that good.
Did you ever meet in the middle and play a guitar?
Later in life.
He still plays guitar.
I know.
That's funny. So yeah, man, that initial lineup, dude, was Rob Bradfield. I still talk to him. Carlos Duncan, still talk to them. And like Mike Poole and one other person, right? And Danny Dumont was the drummer, right? And we met because, just like what Jonas was saying, I was at like Canyon Crest or somewhere, and I saw Rob Bradfield and those guys I just mentioned, and they're all freaking rude boyed out, just to the T. And Rob Bradfield looked like Suggs of Madness, and I was just like, dude, what's up? And you just meet, right? So we met, and then we just all hung out, and we were, Rob's like, well, he played guitar, so he's like, hey, let's start a band, guys. I play guitar. How about, so we just started a band in a garage. And that was like 84, 85. So remember, the album we didn't record till 88. So,
okay.
So this was like 85, a year after I kind of got into it,
What house were you practicing at that time?
At Tilly's house.
So I didn't know that Tilly's brother was the drummer for the Skeletons, dude.
You didn't know that till right now?
Because, dude, I lived on 5th and Brockton, which was walking distance to Fairmount Park.
Yeah, and Tilly was right there.
Yeah, you knew where Tilly used to live. They used to live right by the park. And I met Danny. Danny was an asshole when I met him, but he was like the bully brother on the Mongoose, fucking BMX, whatever, riding around with his fucking guys and shit. But I didn't know he was the drummer for the band, dude. That's crazy.
Look at that. You learn something new every day.
I did not know.
He was the original. Yeah, it was Danny Dumont, dude. And I dated his sister Tilly, and then so we practiced in their garage. And then they ended up kicking me out of the band. But I thought of the name, so I took the name with me. I'm all, screw you guys, see you. And then I was going to Arlington, and then that's where I met Rick and Ernie Vigoro. And that's when that's phase 2 of the Skeletons, and then.
And phase 2 is circa when now?
88.
88, okay.
We got together in 86. We played our first concert in 86.
Right.
It was a party. That was phase 1. Phase 2 was Jonas, Ernie, Mark Cummings has been there since, and obviously Mark, Jonas, and I were still in the band, and Rick. So of those that are in the band today that are in phase 2 is me, Jonas, Mark, and Rick. But Ernie Vigoro was still singing then on the album. He's singing on the album, and we had Robert, and then Robert Valverde started playing drums, and then we had Mike Dooley on saxophone and Jeff Elwood. And that lineup went all the way till after the record. And then that lineup did the show at Fender's Ballroom, where we wanted to play Fishbone was all of our gods. They were icons. Yeah. They were the leaders of the scene. And we were just we wanted to be like them, but better, and you almost felt jealous that they were so good, envious. You're like that.
Right.
That
we're never gonna get there.
I know we're never gonna be that good. This is just too good of a drummer. And then you had the Crooks who were kind of like them, but so we played a show at Fender's Ballroom where we weren't good enough to play with Fishbone at the time, but we had like Ron Townsend, who was kind of our pseudo manager at the time, had money. So he was just like, let's just hire Fishbone to play, and we'll just force our way to play with him, you know? So that's what we did. We just forced the concert. We booked the concert at Fender's Ballroom. We were direct support. And it was Bilge Guppies, the Crooks. Yeah, no, it was the lineup was Bilge Guppies, the Crooks, No Doubt, Skeletones, and Fishbone. Right. And we had a Screw Rally go to it. It was completely sold out. It was badass. And that was the first show that I had ever promoted in my life. Did not know what I was doing. I probably got taken advantage of, you know, but I didn't know, you know, because I know.
You came out financially, you came out ahead. The investment.
Well, yeah, we made 25. I came out after all costs and expenses. I walked out was $500, $2,500.
Wow,
there you go. Way to start.
And this was late 80s.
This was 86.
Oh, 86. Okay,
1986.
Fishbone.
Or no, I'm sorry.
88.
It was 88. 1988. I have the fire.
Fishbone already. So they had already released their first album when you guys hired them.
Yeah, they were already on In Your Face.
Or their second album.
In Your Face, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, really quick story too about Fishbone for me. So I have two friends, Papa and Omar. I asked my father to please take us to LA. Fishbone's playing. I'm still not in high school yet. This is technically this is like the year before I joined the Skeletones. I told my dad, take us to the Whiskey A Go-Go and drop us off. And I didn't know how I was getting back. And at the time I was living in Riverside. So that's what happened. He dropped us off. We snuck in, and how we snuck in is because in between bands, the doors open at the Whiskey because it's so small. And so they're loading and unloading. We just walked through the door. That's how we got in. So now we're in there, we're watching Fishbone, greatest freaking concert of my life. I'm sitting like a foot away from Fish playing drums, and I'm just standing there and my brain's exploding. So after the show, how are we going to get home? Right. Guess who we meet? This is the reason why I'm telling you this story. We meet this guy, this white guy with his girlfriend, Ska guy, right? He's like, well, you guys could come stay at my house tonight, and then tomorrow we'll figure out how you guys are going to get home. The guy who we stayed the night with, and he lived in Valencia, right by Magic Mountain in California. That guy is the guitar player for Hepcat, who became the guitar player for Hepcat, Lino.
Oh, Lino Trujillo. Yeah.
But I don't even know if he was in Hepcat at that time. It could have been pre-Hepcat, or he was already in Hepcat, but I don't even think he was in the band yet.
He might have been in Sharpville Steps, right?
Maybe, but we ended up staying at his house, and we literally took a Greyhound bus back the next day but that's how much the things that you do, right? The things that you do when you're a kid to do what you want to do, right? So for music, I don't care. I'm doing whatever I need to do.
Well, you were a brave little teen.
Yeah.
Life was different back then, you know.
Right.
You didn't have to, you could ride in the back of a truck.
Right.
You could hitchhike back then.
Yeah.
Paul, I need to ask. So the dancing skeleton behind you.
The Bone Shaker.
Yes. So who designed that, and was that from day one, so to speak?
Dave Halili is you can't see his. So Dave Halili was like the Orange County T-shirt screen print guy who did everything for us, and I met him through No Doubt.
Okay.
So he did all No Doubt's screen printing and everything, and him and Eric Stefani. You know, Eric is a cartoonist, and Dave Halili he's an artist as well. This came from, like, I had a drawing of this guy. It was like a Vision skatewear kind of thing. It was a skeleton. It wasn't in that pose, but he was like skateboard. He was on a skateboard, you know. And Dave Halili just put him in kind of like that DRI pose. and detailed the hell out of it, and he made shirts. These were our shirts, and this became our logo, but that was Dave Halili.
So I want to take you back to the formation. So you're at phase 2 now.
Yes.
Right. So proceed.
Yes. So phase 2 went all the way up until, I would say, all the way up until the Red album, because Jonas came in and Ernie went out, so that's kind of where I put kind of phase 2 at, after the album, right up to the Red album. So now it's Jonas, Mark, myself, and then we had another drummer, a second drummer we went from, this would be our third drummer. This is Jason Schultz. So Jason Schultz comes in, and then we record the Red album. All right, so phase 2 is the Red album. Phase 1 is the regular album, the first album. And phase 2 went on, we toured on phase 2. We toured with Selector on phase 2, which that lineup was Mark, myself, Jonas. Rick at that time had taken a hiatus and moved to Texas. And then we had, it was just the one keyboard player, me, because it was at one point it was the two of us, like it is now. But then Ernie Figueroa was gone, and we went through a few different guitar players. And then Alex Tosh came in on phase 2, and he was with us for many, many, many years, and he's going to be playing with us now, at No Values. So that lineup was Jonas, Mark, Jonas, Mark, myself, Alex, Jason Schultz on drums, and Jason's brother Garth. Which Garth is
Kip came in around that time, right?
But he didn't record on the Red album. Kip started to come in. I think now we're starting to get to phase 3, because Kip came in, and then we were
Dr. Bones.
Yeah, we were phase 2. Phase 2 is the Red album and Dr. Bones.
Yeah.
Those 2 albums. And then after that, we started to kind of shift more to, and then we even went into 2K Solution. But then 2K Solution, that was the end of phase 2. Because after 2K Solution.
Really quick too, I wanted to, we recruited a fan that became part of our band. He loved our band so much, and I love this guy. His name's Jared Palazzolo.
Okay.
And this guy, kind of the same story as me. He was just a kid. He was like 15, 16 years old, but he was an amazing guitar player. And he just picked up quick. You would teach him things, and he was like, okay, I got it. Just an amazing kid. So Jared was like such a cool addition to our band, man, because he brought a lot of energy to the group, with just his age and his enthusiasm, and just, I love that kid so much. Yeah, great kid, man.
So that was phase 3. So phase 1 was the album. Phase 2 was the Red album, Dr. Bones, and 2K Solution. After 2K Solution, we had this phase 3, which that's where we are now. Basically, we have Woody, who plays drums, and he's been with us for Bump, the album Bump, and up until now, and any singles that we've done. We've done a few singles since then. We have Sublime cover song. We did Dr. Bones, but we never released it until just now. Right. We just had it. And then, but now phase 3, which is Bump, was Jared Palazzolo, who he played guitar. Alex kind of phased out there. Jonas, Mark, myself, Kip, Rick came back. And then we had the horns. We always had horns. Jonas always played horns. And Skeletons have always had horns on everything, but the horns really started to develop from phase 2 to phase 3, to tail end of phase 2.
Yeah. 2K Solution is when it started. Yeah. Because for me, it got a little bit too taxing for me. Like, I love trumpet, but it was just one of those things where I was like, guys, I need to just focus on being a singer and not, you know, play trumpet, then sing trumpet. It just was a lot. So I just kind of phased out of playing horn, and we got other guys to fill in, which it was a good idea.
Right.
Because Kip came in, you know, Kip came in at the end of phase 2, phase 3, still with us, and he brought in sax and his amazing freaking soulful voice, you know. So phase 3, it's gonna be, you know, Jonas, Mark, Rick, Kip, Woody, Chris Miles on guitar.
Another amazing guitar player.
Yeah, he's awesome. Bob, who's on trombone, and myself.
Nice. And that's a lineup that'll be at No Values.
Yeah. But another thing too, so Woody Diaz, who plays drums for us, he's also the drummer for the Debonaires.
Yes.
But funny, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit. Robert, who was our drummer, and then Jason, who was our drummer. The funny thing about those guys, for me personally, because of the genre that we were doing, those guys were 99.9% progressive rock drummers. Wow. They knew nothing about ska. They had no idea what ska was, nothing. So any information that they received about ska would be from Paul, from me, from the other guys in the band. So it worked, but it was kind of a push and pull, because we had to be patient with them to try to learn the style of ska, right? And so we were working with that dynamic when we had those two drummers, and it worked. It worked.
I guess there was a reservoir of musicians to draw from.
Yeah, but they had no idea what ska was, so it was interesting, you know. But we made it work.
Yeah,
it worked, and it developed our sound. You know, we definitely. Jason was a solid drummer, not a groove drummer, like ska typically, especially like rocksteady and elements of ska, you know, swing, groove. But here's Kip. He's about to hop on here.
Look at this.
But
it's like he knew we were talking about him.
I know, right? We're talking about. Don't think about Kip. Just.
In comes Kip.
What?
Kip,
come on.
Kip.
Hey, your ears are burning.
Yeah.
we were just talking about you, man.
In a bad way, they're slandering you.
Turn your camera on.
Yeah, Kip, if you can turn your camera on.
I don't have a camera on.
Oh, you're all looking scared.
That seems deliberate. You could see us, but we can't see you. What's up with that?
That's not any better.
That's not much better.
It's at the
You
bottom.
guys struggling with technology over there?
You look like you're hiding in a warehouse somewhere.
Oh,
where
there you
you
go.
at?
Dark.
Oh, it says that it's on. Oh,
Hey,
it's on.
It's dark. Are you guys in a car? There you go.
Are you in an undisclosed?
Hey, man.
Oh, look at that. We got Woody and Kip. Gentlemen, how are you?
What's going on?
All right, Kip.
Good to see you both.
Nice to see you. Hey!
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Is it live?
We just finished at Deb's practice.
I was gonna say live.
Hey, you guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, we were just at a point right now where I was telling Junior and the guys that the two drummers before Woody knew nothing about ska and how to play it. So we were telling them how we had to kind of teach the drummers how to play ska music. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
That's funny. I could dial in on my phone. I don't know. Kip, what are you gonna?
What?
They're talking about drumming and stuff. I said I could dial in on my phone.
Yeah, however you guys want to do it.
We were telling them about how you used to sing backups for Stevie Wonder. Tina Turner.
Andre Crouch.
Bill Withers.
we were getting the backstory on Skeletones, and Junior and I've had the pleasure of talking, Kip, with you and Woody prior to this as well. And we must say, Debonaires, you all did an incredible job January. Yeah, January.
Yeah.
At the Glass
Thank you.
House.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
On that very
With
special
Rico?
night. No. Most recently, the sharing the bill with Hepcat.
You mean
Yeah,
Debonaires?
the Debonaires too, like, you know, for me, big inspiration, right? Because God willing, there's always bands like the Debonaires that continue the legacy of teaching the world the origins of the music, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we need bands like that, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because
sure.
the Skeletons are great, but it's the difference between hybrid ska and traditional ska. So the Debonaires, we need bands like that, you know?
Kudos,
Yeah.
man. Kudos. Big respect.
Look at that. Now
Yeah.
you've split. You split the two. We got it. Now we're talking.
There we go.
Not everybody.
So we were getting to phase 3. We were saying how the lineup of phase 3 is, you know, is going to be the lineup that's going to be at No Values. Woody's the drummer, and Woody brought he brought the he brought the groove to the band, and you know, it really made a huge impact, in my opinion. You know, when it comes to albums, I think Bump's the greatest album we recorded. 2K
For
Solution
sure.
is also pretty high up there because
yeah.
just the, you know, the horn orchestrations and everything, but everything after Dr. Bones, like everything after Dr. Bones.
Yeah, like also too, you know, it's pretty normal for bands to always say, hey, our latest album is the best album, because that's kind of how it is, right? You continue to grow with your skill set, right, and your songwriting. And I agree with Paul. 2K Solution was an amazing album because we released 20 songs plus, right?
Yeah.
It was an extremely creative album for us. There was some experimentation going on, but Bump, in my opinion, definitely is the best album because it just brings all of the things that we did to that album. And that album is an amazing album. The production, the songwriting, everything is great.
Rick, Rick came back and he contributed to it with a lot of the songwriting and singing, because he's Rick Bauman is an amazing musician, songwriter, keyboard player, and then Woody playing drums. It's my favorite album, you know, and everything after that, I think, you know, and then Chris Miles came in and just added his guitar excellence, and it's just a good core, and that's who you're actually going to see kind of a little bit of a mashup between two and, you know, between phase 2 and 3, because Alex Tosh will be playing with us.
Right.
Yeah.
So Woody, where did you learn to play ska drumming? Because it's extremely difficult. From what I've gathered over the years, it's very, very difficult to learn rudimentary rules of playing ska. Like it's played, should I say, by the legends then?
Yeah, so funny you should ask. I was kind of just talking about this tonight. When I first joined the band, you know, I mostly taught myself to play at a younger age, right? And then I was big in marching band and all that. So when I joined the Debonaires, I really didn't. I knew of reggae music, of course. You know, I mean, I grew up on all that stuff, but I never paid close attention to the drums. And they were kind of explaining the one drop to me, right? And being that at that point I had some, you know, training, I said, wait a second, you're telling me you put the bass drum at the same time as the cross stick? And I said, no way, you guys are wrong. That's absolutely incorrect, right? That's not how you play music. And so I went for a good few months keeping them separate and kind of having like a rock approach, which is kind of what I knew and did, like, fundamentally, you know? And then I went to a show, the first show we played, man, I can't tell you, I know it was at a place called The Vault, and I know this is the Skeletons interview, but you know, I learned in the Debonaires. So we played at a place called The Vault. It was a steady beat show, and I think it had to be like Mobtown or something.
Sure.
And I was just watching the drummers, and I said, well, shit, they're playing the damn you know, cross stick with the bass drum. And so So I really just learned by going to shows and watching other drummers in the scene play it. A lot of the recordings, as you guys know, you can't hear the drums. So it's like you can hear little hi-hats or cymbal things or a cross stick, that sort of thing, but you can't really hear the drums. So
was it
long answer to bring it back around, I learned by teaching myself by seeing it done live in the scene.
Okay.
And then of course later, you know, newer recordings. What was the Scotalites album? I want to say it was like Ska Vuvi or something.
Oh, yeah.
That was an album that one of our players handed to me and said, Dave Sackover gave me that album and said, learn from this. I really think I just learned by the shows, you know, because even that was kind of, you know, what the hell? But, you know, I would say Hepcat and Slackers.
Yep.
It was like, hey man, for if you're a drummer or you're a guitar player and you're learning how to play ska, you basically have to unteach yourself, and you're like playing on the offbeat, basically, right? So it's like the opposite almost, you know.
Well, popular music, everything for drums is, you know, snares on 2 and 4, bass 1 and 3. And the one drop is basically you're playing everything on the 3 together, you know, just on 3. And so it was very much backwards and didn't make that much sense to me. So, but the more I did it, the more I got used to it. And then I had some songs where I would play my own style, and then some songs I would do like the traditional style. And it was kind of shit. I don't want to say shitty, but I was younger then. And I had this ego where I wanted to show off, you know. I was like, man, I have all these chops. Hear me play these fills, guys. Here, I want everybody to hear me play all these notes. And you know, now that I've matured, I know it's definitely not what it's about. It's totally all feel.
Yeah.
And you know what you're bringing to the music, and so I definitely feel like I've dialed it back in. With the Debs. Now with the Skeletones, I mean, I love that because we have a more, you know, modern approach, a lot of punk rock, a lot of actual rock songs and shit like that. But we do have the few traditional songs that we pepper in there, and it's really nice to have that diversity. For, you know, especially for me, because I mean, I have love, you know, for the traditional stuff and all the original shit, but I mean, who doesn't like to break out on their instrument and throw some notes down, you know?
Absolutely. Kip, question for you, Kip. So when you joined Skeletones, you were also in Debonaires, correct?
When I joined the Skeletones, no, I think I was playing with this band called Orange Street.
Oh, okay.
And then I was playing with Lucky Seven. And then Paul tried to recruit me, and I told him I only had one arm.
Oh, was that because of your
shoulder?
Yeah. Your shoulder?
Yeah. He's like, "I'll come play with us." I'm like, "I can't."
Wasn't that a show, or was it at Alex's house, or at a party or something? I'm like, hey, dude. Yeah, I remember, dude. Oh my God, that jarred my brain. You were like,
Kip was he's a professional athlete, so he did a lot of track and field, and sometimes he would get injured, and that was one of his injuries. So yeah, his arm was not cooperating.
Well, you found that, right?
But he came around.
So, yeah, I finally came around.
Right.
So, hey, but really quick to chime in on Woody's thing about ska, it is a trip because ska and reggae are technically extremely simple styles of music to play. However, you have to be very, very disciplined to be able to recreate that sound. And you know, you have to kind of take it down a few notches and really get laser focused in on replicating that sound. You know what I mean? Because as easy as it sounds, it's very technical at the same time. So,
So Paul, back to Skeleton. Which band you played with the most frequently over the decades?
Wow.
And you share the stage with more specific.
Oh man, probably No Doubt. I would say either No Doubt or Goldfinger. Maybe Goldfinger.
Okay. Yep.
Because we did a lot of shows. We went on tour with Goldfinger.
Right.
We did a bunch of shows with Goldfinger.
Selector. We played a lot with Selector.
We went on tour with Selector. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, we did that tour. So.
And did the band perform outside of the United States, or just across the 52?
Well, we did Canada many a times, like
Amsterdam.
And we did Cannabis Cup a couple times.
Nice.
Mexico.
We did Mexico quite a bit. Canada, we did a lot. I mean, we went to Canada quite a few times, all across.
Yeah.
Like we had friends. We did it so many times. We had friends that we would go, and we would end up. They were like Jasper Lake, like Lake Jasper, and Red. Was it Red Hook or something?
There was a time we were playing Canada so much that we started lying to the customs agents that we weren't even in a band to save money on taxes.
Oh,
we're like, we're just here to snowboard.
Yeah, dude, that's the true story, because back then, if you went to Canada and if you told them you were in a band, they would customs would pull you over, and then they would search your whole U-Haul and everything. And your merchandise, and they would make you pay taxes on all your merch.
Tough border, right?
Whether you sold it or not, they made you pay taxes right then and there for taking that merch into Canada. So one time we were going, and I was driving, and I'm like, "Hey guys, let's take all of our beanies off and put that shit on the dashboard, and we'll just tell them we're going snowboarding." we pull right up to the freaking border patrol or the customs, and they ask you, "What's your business here?" And we're all, "Oh, we're just going snowboarding." They're all, "Where are you going?" "Oh, we're going to Lake Louise." They're like, we see the shit on the dashboard. They look inside and we're like, "Okay, let's freaking drive right on through."
Yep.
Nothing. Because normally it's like 2 hours of your night, it's a whole ordeal.
Yeah.
But
No,
that's what we did.
At that time too, I don't know how it is now, but at that time it was an honor system. So they were just going off what your answers were. They weren't checking your paperwork. They just were asking you questions, and if you answered them the right way, you were gone. You were in. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So ever since then we were just like, "Oh, we're just here for the day, or we're just going snowboarding. Don't say you're in a band."
Don't say you're in a band. You're gonna get cavity checked.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, guys, again, I know this is a Skeletons interview, but we got dual membership, so I have to chime in just that Debonaires, we tried doing that sneaky approach and all that kind of shit. We got banned for a year. Debonaires.
What?
Wow. We got banned from Canada for trying to do that. They were like, "Game over, go back down." And now every time we go up, it's like you said, the rubber glove treatment. It's terrible. It's like, it's on our record.
Hey,
listen. So what did you tell them?
Yeah, what'd you tell them?
Okay, we said we were there to play one show. We got invited to play one show. And then this was when MySpace and Facebook and all that just started getting popular. So they just went to our website. It wasn't even, and they saw all our shows listed, and they said, "You guys played 6 shows. You told us one," and we said, "Well, no, you asked us why we got invited, or why we were here," and we said we got invited. You didn't ask how many shows. That was our technicality. And they said, "Cool, wait right here. We'll be right back." And they came back with 10 papers, and we're like, "Oh, what's happening?" They're all, "Sign these. You're banned for a year. Have a nice day." Yeah.
Hey. Really quick on the Canada thing. So Kip, he has grandparents that live in Cherokee, Iowa. Okay. So we were gonna, I'll try to make it short. We were gonna go to Canada, but before that, we stayed at Kip's grandparents' house. They have a 1,200 acre corn farm, everything, right? But here's the thing. When you're in the Midwest, there is weed that grows wild all over. Right?
Weed means ganja, marijuana, or just
marijuana, big 20-foot plants. Okay.
Ditch weed.
So Kip's like, you guys are crazy. Don't pick that stuff. We're like, no, Kip, we're gonna pick the weed. We're taking it. So we take all this weed, we put it in the truck, and so our idea was we're gonna hide the weed. So we started putting the weed in like peanut butter jars and like food containers. We get to the border and we have the exchange with the border. This is, we were on tour with Goldfinger at the time. So at the end of it, we ended up not going across the border because we didn't really want to deal with customs. But right before we leave, the custom agent said, well, yeah, it's good you guys are going because we were going to start checking and then he made mention, we're going to check your food. And we hid all the weed in the food. So had we tried to go across, they would have found all this freaking ditch weed in peanut butter jars and like, yeah, it would have been bad. Would have been bad.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
probably still in jail.
Right.
Probably still in jail.
I think it was just like one show that we had, so we just had to blow it off and like, fuck, we can't go. We can't
go.
Hey, we did get pulled over going through Nebraska.
Nebraska. That's
going
where
across
it was.
And that's where Garth said, he said, all right, guys, we'll see you guys in jail.
No, was that Garth? Yeah. Or was it Ryan Cooley driving?
Oh, because we still had the weed in the truck, huh?
They were trying the weed on the dashboard.
Yeah.
And in the back of Brian's truck, there was garbage bags full of ditch weed.
So it was happened when you guys were pulled over.
And Garth got pulled over for driving in the passing lane.
Yeah, because he was in a different. You guys were in front of us, I think.
Yeah, we were in Alex at Suburban.
We had a lot. You guys, we had a lot of weed in the truck. We had like almost a pound of ditch weed in the truck. We had about a pound of weed.
And the shitty part is that it's ditch weed. Like it's not even. It's not
even.
To smoke.
I'm glad you brought that up because Kip, Kip told us. So what happens is the weed that grows on the side of the freeway in all of these states, they spray it with a poison called paraquat. So when you smoke it, you get a headache. You don't even get high. So Kip was like, hey man, they spray that weed. You're not even gonna get high on it. Don't do it.
We're like, shut up, Kip.
We're like, yeah, whatever, Kip. We're gonna just take this weed. And that's what happened.
So who was the band leader? Somebody had to be, I guess, in charge. Say, hey, we cannot do this. Career come first.
No. There was none of that.
Who was the grown-up? Who was the grown-up in the room?
There was none. Well, we had Ryan Cooley, who at that point we nominated him as our tour manager. And then
who slept most of the time.
And we freaking. I mean, we were a bunch
sweating.
Dude,
sweating.
We were ruthless, man. We talked so much shit about each other. We talked so much shit about him that he left the tour. He's like, I'm out of here, guys. And he literally left. He did that to two. There was two people who we did that, who just couldn't. That one Asian guitar player that we had, he's just like, I'm out of here. And we were just ruthless. We're like freaking, Andrew Scholes. We're like freaking the Tom Brady roast on.
We're pretty punk rock, dude.
We were going, oh, dude, that's all we did. We were just nuts.
We're punk rock.
We were just punk rock. People just couldn't handle it.
I love it. Let's go back and see if you guys remember the show and what you might remember about it. So in October '93, there was a showdown at the Ghost Town.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you guys shared the bill with No Doubt, The Untouchables, Sublime, Dave Wakeling, Voodoo Glow Skulls, The Specs, Face to Face, Suburban Rhythm.
Yep. That was a badass show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Dusty as all hell. It was just a dust ball.
We ended up, after that show, we ended up bringing Dave Wakeling back to where we lived, and we partied with him after the show. We've always been weed people. So we were growing weed at the time, and we literally were giving them like free weed and smoking Dave out and smoking. We were just having a great time with those guys. Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, that was a good show, man. And I think Swedish Eagle was like the MC, from K-Rock.
Oh yeah.
you know, and yeah, dude, that people were all, I remember people that were up on the rooftops of those, because it was like a little ghost town, you know, right off the 10 freeway.
Right.
And it was all dirt. They didn't think to wet the dirt or nothing, dude. It was just dirt and dust and like, you know, just your boogers are just mud. Like it was, but everybody was having so much freaking fun, and it was so. I actually there's video of that on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, you can. It's on there, and we're actually playing. I was going to bring this up to you guys. We're actually playing. You Can't Stop. Remember Can't Stop?
Can't Stop? Oh,
yeah. Can't Stop is on YouTube of us playing at Showdown in the Ghost Town.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
There's also a YouTube video. It's freaking hilarious. It's Paul and I stumbled across Sublime. They set up a generator in Mexico, and I think the caption on YouTube is like Sublime playing a shithole in Mexico or something.
Okay.
And it's me on the mic, and all I'm saying, I'm toasting it. I just keep saying Irie like 50,000 times. Irie, and Bradley's like playing guitar right next to me. And
that was at San Miguel, Mexico, when we used to go camping down there all the time. We all went there. Yeah, we would go there, take mushrooms, and just freaking have a great old time. You know, we'd go there a lot. So we went. It was one of those camping trips, and when we were there, we heard some. I remember we were setting up camp, and we just got there. We're like, dude, somebody's playing music, and we just go down to the beach, and yeah, it's like Jonas said, it's freaking Brad, Noel. I don't know if Eric and Bud was there. I think it was just Brad and like a couple other cats. It was
Brad was definitely there.
Yeah, Bradley was playing and singing. You know, he had a whole little PA, battery powered PA.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people there, and then we just jumped in, and it was just Jonas grabbed the mic, and it's pretty cool. That's on YouTube too.
Nice.
It was a really cool little freaking thing that just went
good
down
old days,
in San Miguel, Mexico.
Right.
So again, speaking of the good old days, let's go back in time. Did it surprise you guys when No Doubt and Sublime started taking off?
No, not really.
I always knew No Doubt would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
They just
I mean, you know, you have to. It's always a timing issue with pop radio, right? So with pop radio, whatever's, you know, it's kind of like a 20-year circle, right? So every 10 or 20 years, genres come back around, right? So it was a timing issue, you know, and ska music, that was a resurgence at that time. So even if you're a traditional ska person and you know that these bands aren't necessarily traditional ska, that's what they're representing, and that was what it was at that time. So I think the timing of it was perfect. It worked perfectly for everybody, right? For Sublime, for No Doubt, for the Skeletons, for all of us.
Big Fish, Goldfinger.
Yeah, and then it just exploded, you know. But I think, you know, you also have to take into account there's always these little tangibles, right? And so for Gwen, Gwen was such an X factor for that band. She's this beautiful girl, which obviously it's not going to hurt, right? So you have this pretty girl fronting the ska band, and it just exploded, and they made a great album. Their album was amazing, and the rest is history for No Doubt, right? You know, and Sublime, same thing. I mean, had Bradley survived that, I think they still would have been extremely relevant to this day.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because they literally created their own genre of music.
Yeah.
The whole three-piece white boy surfer reggae type of music. I mean, they created that. No one else was doing that.
Right.
So those guys are gonna, I mean, with the material they left behind, it's still gonna be enough, I think, for them to be relevant for a long time to come.
Yeah.
You know.
And now with Jacob Noel playing with Buddy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the impact that both Sublime and No Doubt of
absolutely.
Yeah. So early on in the interview, Paul and Jonas, you mentioned Bill Fold of Golden Voice, but also back in the day of 98 Posse. To talk about some of the shows at the barn or playing for 98 Posse.
Yeah. So, you know, everything's going to connect, right? So Sublime used to open up for the Skeletones. So the ongoing joke with the Skeletones in our circle is, if you play for us, you're going to make it. That's always been our joke. If you open up for the Skeletones, you're going to make it. So Sublime used to play in the beer garden, not even the main stage, where we used to go get your beer. They would open up for us, and then we would play our show, and we'd, rock out and have a great time. But 98 Posse, they were the right, Paul. They were the main guys, right?
They were the harbingers of just live music in the Inland Empire, man. The bastions of just. Yeah. They like Bill Fold, he like earlier on in the conversation, he's an individual that was a straight businessman. When all of us were musicians and just being punk rockers, he was freaking a businessman, and never partied, never got drunk, never did it, just was really the one that handled stuff. And he had a little crew, and they were the ones who had the shows. It was at the Riverside Armory, or it was at the American Legion, or it was at the barn, or even at UCR shows. He did them all, and then they started branching out into, Pomona, and then once him and Paul hooked up, then that's when we started even doing more shows, like John Anson Ford, just a lot of the Golden Boy shows. But yes, Bill Fold, he is very instrumental in just us, the relevancy of ska, because the Inland Empire was was on the map,
Yeah, it was the hotbed, definitely.
Yeah, because
in addition, you had 2 radio stations.
KUCI.
Yes,
you were at K.
Red and
KUCI.
Yeah, after coming out of Redlands. Yeah, it was a hot spot when I first came here. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, no, it was the joint. And then so Bill Fold and then Izot from Spanky's,
Right.
Those are the two icons of the iconic promoters in the Inland Empire.
And Izot also had Showcase, right?
Yeah, in Corona.
Yeah, that was a good place. I love the Showcase there. It was such an amazing place to play.
Because
that was at a time where it just was a really good, cool venue. The layout of the venue was awesome. It was very intimate, but it was still big enough to, have a lot of people there to see shows. And
it was hot.
Yeah, it was hot. Yeah, it was hot.
That shit would get.
Yeah, it was hot.
Oh my God.
We'd be like, is somebody turns a heater on in here? Damn,
Izot, man. Izot, bless his heart. Izot, you gotta give respect for anybody that's, supporting live music, right? But Izot was one of those guys, man. Like I love him to death, but at the same time, you kind of had to keep, your third eye open because, he's just one of those kind of promoters that you got to keep your eye on him because you never know what's going to happen,
Right.
You even said, where's the money, Bud Spot?
Yeah, exactly.
In reference to him.
Yeah, so
I'll tell you a quick story. Izot, so we were on tour. We played our last show in LA on a tour that we were doing. Robert, who was our drummer at the time, got held up by gunpoint, and all of our equipment was taken by people on the street. Our drums, keyboards, guitar, just everything. They stole all of our equipment. So Izot was kind of pseudo managing us and representing us and taking care of us. And he, we were going to file an insurance claim to get the money to get our equipment back. And so that was what we all thought was happening. And at the end of the day, that never came to fruition because Izot had other plans. And we never ended up getting money from Izot to buy our equipment back. So that's the reason why I said Izot's just one of those guys. Like I love the guy, but it wasn't the best situation for us with what he decided to do or not do in that situation for us. You know what I mean?
And what has become of him?
I don't know.
In clubs?
No. He's older now. I think he's in Corona still. Him.
Yeah, he still hangs out.
Okay. Yeah, he was like he was in a wheelchair for a minute.
Okay.
Do you remember when the showcase shut down? I don't remember when that club shut down.
Yeah, it shut down in 2010, maybe?
That's about right. Yeah.
Is it 2010?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. 2010 or 2009. We played one of the last shows there, right? I mean,
they have a documentary.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that documentary is dope.
I don't think it's been fully released though.
No, it's released. It's got I saw it. It has they had a showing. Right? What was that?
Yeah.
It's on YouTube, I think.
Well, they had a showing.
Well, they had a couple. Had a couple of showings, but they edited it a couple times.
Oh, okay. Because didn't they have a showing at? They had the showing. Yeah, it was at Romano's.
Yeah, Romano's.
That's right. Okay.
Was it about the showcase? Was that what it was?
Yeah. I remember. I thought I was watching it on YouTube, but yeah, I went to Romano's and watched it. That's right.
Yeah. It was dope.
Yeah, for that too.
That was great.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, if I can, I guess, say refocus for a second here now. So the Skeleton music is more reggae sounding than fans and critics, I guess, credit you guys for, right? I don't think they really appreciate the reggae aspect of it. So typically described as more punk, for lack of a better description, where the reggae influence come from. Maybe that's the essence.
Yeah, and Jonas, you mentioned earlier about a trip to Jamaica as well. So maybe you can weave that into this conversation too.
I mean, I think the Skeletons the core members have always been directly connected to the traditional sound. Mm-hmm. But it also was a situation that was very important for us to incorporate, just like any band in the world, take your classic influences and create your own spin on it, right? So that's exactly what we did. I feel like with us, it got to a point where our music was, I've always been proud of every song we've ever made. Mm-hmm. But looking back in hindsight, and even currently in the middle of looking at our music in the moment, when we were active and playing, I started thinking to myself, because things were kind of like not panning out, and why aren't we on pop radio? And I started kind of feeling like maybe our songs were a little bit too complicated, too much in our songs. Maybe we needed to strip it down. Maybe we needed to get more simple. And that to me was kind of the conundrum that we've always kind of dealt with. It's like, are we putting too much into our songs? Do we need to dial it back? Should we be more traditional? And that's always been kind of our push and pull with this band. And we continue to think that way and tweak our songs that way, like, how are we gonna release this or that? But we've always been, this band is always gonna be a ska band. Technically, I consider ourselves a ska band, always.
With some of your songs are heavily reggae.
Yeah,
well, the reggae for me came from UB40. I'm a huge UB40 fan, and so was Ray.
Right. They were a big gateway for me, right? Okay.
Huge UB40 fan as well. Me too, as well, because you take something so simple, but it's so infectious, and you're so connected to the vibe and the sound of that genre. But again, for us, I just, all of us are so technically skilled at this juncture in our lives as musicians that we want to push the envelope, we want to try to like push it as far as we can, but still keep that core essence of that genre. So however we can do it, we'll do it. And that's kind of what the Skeletons are,
Right. And interestingly enough, as you mentioned UB40, but you guys, UB40 just came out with I think 2 weeks ago, and they claim, which is accurate, that after Bob Marley, they took reggae music worldwide and to a higher level.
Right.
And I think it's hard to deny that.
And what's crazy too about UB40 is and for me personally, it's crazy because they're one of the only bands that I can remember to this day where, I mean, how many unoriginal / covers? I mean, they took a lot of covers and became famous by playing other people's music.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of bands that do that.
Work extremely well for the Jamaican artists because the royalty checks.
Yeah.
They were extremely good.
And you know what? And back in the day when you do the history, the DJs from Jamaica would go to Florida. They would get the records from America, right? Mm-hmm. And then they would copy that style and create their own sound. I heard a crazy story, which I believe. So two things. I heard the birth of hip hop is from Jamaica, right? And here's the story. So the little trucks that would drive around the island with the little 45 singles would sell them to different communities of the reggae ska artists, right? But what happened was one of the pressings did not record the lyrics on one of the songs. So now you have an instrumental track that allows people to freestyle and do whatever they want vocally over that track, AKA the birth of hip hop. Because now you have people that are able to put their own lyrics on top of somebody else's song.
It's almost accurate. Is a producer, a sound operator from Stone went to Treasure Isle to cut song,
right,
for dance, and the vocal was absent,
right.
And Roy was there the night, and everybody. It was a Paragon song with no vocals, and the place was crazy because people were singing the song.
It's called the version, right?
Right. Yeah, but
so you did your version.
It wasn't intended to be.
Right. It was
and there was no judge. The Paragons didn't come in.
Right.
There was no
Yeah.
Roy was writing, and everyone in the audience was singing as if they were the Paragons.
That's what it's what you call a beautiful accident.
Yeah. Yeah. By and large, almost all the reggae is accident.
Yeah. So I look at Jamaica. I mean, Jamaica, it's such a small place in the world that has influenced the world so much musically to this day, because when you listen to reggaeton, what is it? It's like, it's Latin reggae, it's Latin dancehall. Jamaica continues to influence so many artists worldwide, and it's amazing to me. You know, even Africa with Wizkid, you listen to those artists and you're like, wow, this sounds like a different version of reggae or dancehall. So Jamaica has a major influence on music to this day.
Yes.
Yeah, you got bands like 21 Pilots and Justin Bieber and all kinds of reggae's and everything, dude.
Absolutely too. Yeah. So prior to this upcoming June 8th, June 7th, and 8th shows, when was the last time Debonaires performed?
I'm sorry to interrupt. You hear something in the background?
Yeah, who's in the background?
my wife is talking to somebody downstairs.
Oh,
so
no worries.
Maybe that's what it is.
So when was the performance?
The last show we did was in 2018 we opened for Fishbone, and it was a Christmas show. It was in December 2018.
Was that at the Roxy?
Yeah, at the Roxy.
It was at the Roxy, right?
Yeah. That was the last show.
That's fairly recent. I thought it was way much earlier. You guys had sort of like went into hiatus.
No, that was when we played that, and I think the microphone got caught. Didn't the microphone get caught on the
it
did. The curtains were going up. Your microphone got caught on it.
I think that was Chris.
Or Chris.
Microphone.
It was Chris's microphone.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? Listen, you guys, I remember that show because I brought literally a pound of weed. I brought a pound of weed. And I literally am walking all inside the venue, just opening it up and giving free weed to everybody, including.
What was the idea?
Yeah, and backstage it was a bag, dude.
Yeah, it was. I like literally brought a pound of weed, and I'm literally
like a duffel bag,
just passing weed out to everybody, the fans, the audience, the Fishbone, like, yeah.
Kip, unless it's on purpose.
Irie!
Unless it's on purpose, do you want to turn your camera back on?
Oh yeah, but
you still there?
Getting all my gear out of the car.
Okay, all good.
I'll be back.
No worries. Well, I'm going to point a question to you and Woody. I'm gonna talk about Debonaires real quick. So you guys also have a big upcoming show where, not for the first time, but for the second time or second series of time, so to speak, you're going to back up a legend in Susan Cadogan, right? Coming to the Glass House on August 20th. August 10th. Poster right here.
Yes.
Talk about, were you two part of the European tour back in I guess it was several years ago when you backed up Susan across several dates?
Yeah. Woody didn't make that one.
Okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
Woody.
No, it's all right.
Sorry, Woody.
No, yeah, I was, I DJ and stuff too, and I had too many gigs already booked, so I couldn't make it on that tour. But Fritz, you guys know Fritz.
I remember.
Of course.
He took over the spot for me for a little while. Did a great job. Of course, he's an awesome drummer. So, but yeah, Kip, you can go ahead and speak on it because obviously I wasn't there and stuff. So.
It's got to be why you're laughing. Let's hear the drama.
It was good. It was a good time. I was trying to stay out of it as much as possible, but I just really just played sax in there. I didn't really do anything. I didn't really sing or anything like that. I just sort of let her do her thing.
Okay.
But it was really fun to play with her.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Eric,
there's some good.
Were there plural shows or one show?
I think there was a few over there, right, Kip?
Yeah, we did a bunch of shows with her.
Okay. I thought
yeah.
it was one show.
Yeah, and there's some good footage on YouTube on that one as well. But that'll be a great one too, where you guys and Susan Cadogan, Rudy Mills will be there, Stranger Cold, both of them backed by Steady 45s,
and she'll be celebrating her 50th anniversary in show business. So what do you guys have lined up for that particular show? Anything you can share with us and perhaps the audience?
For what show?
The Susan and Stranger Cold at the Glass House.
Yeah.
You guys are as if you didn't know.
I mean, I don't know if we have anything that we can necessarily kind of divulge or anything. I mean, we're working on the songs, putting together a set list and that sort of thing. Nice. But I mean, I think that basically for now kind of sums it up. I mean, right, Kip? I mean, you got anything to add?
No, we're just working on some things in the studio, and that's really about it. I don't want to say more.
No, the originally explicit because I know you guys were rehearsing tonight. That's why I asked.
Yeah, no, we're working on a new album. So
nice. All right.
Okay. Yeah, I heard about that. Right. All right.
That's great.
Sort of great.
Give our best to the rest of the crew as well.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do.
Yes. As we near the end here, we're going to go back and again talk about the shows coming up.
No Value.
Right. So Saturday, June 8th, the No Values.
You guys heard about it, right?
There's so many. I mean, just the fact that
on a serious note, it's one of the most talked about shows in all of Southern California.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna try to make this another Coachella, but for a different genre, right? So I think they're gonna want to try to make this an annual thing for like punk rock, ska, and that kind of thing every year. So we'll see how it goes. But I think it would be an amazing thing if that was the alternative to Coachella, right? So hopefully that'll continue on year after year. We'll see.
I see no reason why it should, because from day one it was a success.
Yeah,
right.
Certainly some big acts. Specific to the ska side of things, obviously you guys.
Maybe you should stick with the ska side.
Yes.
Fishbone,
the others are too many to mention.
The Untouchables.
Fishbone, Aquabats, Selector, Hepcat, and the Untouchables. Yes.
Sublime too. Yeah.
Sublime is on that one as well. Yes.
Really quick. Rest in peace, Greg Lee, because he just passed away. And not only that, Terry Hall, the lead singer for the Specials, just passed away. So the Skeletones, we're trying to think about what kind of tribute we're going to do
Right.
set with a song or something. So we're kind of going back and forth about maybe doing like a couple of songs for both of those bands. So
That's a brilliant idea. Maybe you should have kept it secret.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that would be amazing. If we can, this is actually a question. So Jonas, this is perfect. So you guys obviously over the years have played with Hepcat and have interacted and played with Greg Lee. And yes, he did tragically and horribly just pass unexpectedly. But can you any of you share any stories or memories of Greg?
I actually hung out with Greg twice.
In your lifetime?
Well, more than that. No, I'm just saying. Recently, like in the last, I want to say about a year and a half to 2 years ago, I ran into him and we hung out all night and just had drinks. And it's just like, you know, whenever you run into somebody you grew up with for 20 plus years, it's like we never ever left, you know, and we just hung out, had a great time with him. He's got such a big heart, such an amazing person, cool guy, man. So I hung out with him a couple of times before he passed. Yeah, but those guys have always been the coolest guys, man. And I met them when I was just a kid, and they've always just been really, really, really nice people, man. Just down to earth, regular guys, you know. But Greg Lee, those guys are amazing singers. The same thing. So Debonaires, I consider the same thing as like Hepcat. You know, it's just one of those bands that they're going to keep it traditional. They're going to give you the essence of ska and reggae, you know, and I appreciate that so much, you know. But that was my last experience.
Before we put this stopper on, what the future holds for Debonaires, even though the focus is on Skeleton. So let's start with Skeleton, or vice versa. What's in the future? I know you talked briefly about a new album coming up.
Well, Debonaires have something going. I mean, I don't know. I think we'll just have to see. For us, it's just going to be totally. We'll just have to see, you know.
Yeah.
What happens after this show?
Any new recordings?
You know, we did talk about. We've got a lot of archive stuff that sounds really good. I mean, we just.
Yeah.
And maybe think about. I was even thinking about we could just because it's funny you mentioned reggae. We could actually make an album of all of the Skeletones, like, you know, lovers rock reggae kind of jams, you know, like Tranquilizer and Kicking the Butt by Love and you know, The Truth. Just think about how many. There's a lot, dude. That we recorded. Yeah, you could do a whole album.
Or you were talking about versions earlier, right? We could always do a bunch of like new record those over different versions.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree. I think it would be a good idea to do remixes of our original, because we have a pretty big catalog. To do remixes of a lot of our songs would be amazing because we have great songs. And then obviously, if you're a musician, which we all are, is new music, right? So I'm super excited about that. And I'm hoping we could get into that mode and write new music, because we're all still here, and I think this will be a good jump off for that. You know, these two shows coming up, it's probably going to create a lot of energy for us to kind of go in that direction. So hopefully we can actually write some new songs. That would be great.
And there's going to be
any tours outside of these two shows?
Nothing yet. And, you know, I'm hoping that what does come of this is going to be something that will not dilute the skeleton, you know, the Skeletones, I guess, brand, meaning, you know, we don't want to do a bunch of bar shows and this and that. And, you know, I think we're at the point now to where the shows that, you know, our performance, you know, we want to make it, you know, not just intimate, but special, you know.
Yeah.
We've done all the whole,
sure.
You know, just make it some, you know, some good shows with you know, like the No Values or like the, you know, like the Glass House type thing.
But just also, you guys, to add to that, we're specifically focused more on up-tempo an up-tempo ska set. We have a lot of reggae. We do a lot of mid-tempo and reggae stuff too, but I think for these two shows, we're gonna try to bring a lot of energy. So a lot of the 99% of our set is gonna be very up-tempo ska and rock and like, you know, really up-tempo stuff. So
classic skeletons.
We might throw like 1 or 2 reggae songs in there, but a lot of it's gonna be like really up-tempo ska.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens after these 2 shows. I mean, yeah, it'd be great to do some stuff, but we just have to make sure that it's you know, that it's special, that we can really, you know, be the best that we can be. Because, you know, there's other things that everyone's doing. You know, the Debonaires got things going on, you know, so we just have to make sure that, you know, Mark, our bass player, he's a professional musician. He's in like he's like that's what he is, dude. He's a bass player. You know?
We have to schedule our schedule is based on Mark's schedule. That's how much he plays music.
That's why we can't. Yeah, so we have to kind of navigate through all of that. So that's why it makes it better to not pick and choose, but to just make sure that the shows that we do play accommodate everybody else's schedule, but at the same time is rewarding for us and our audience, and it's in a great venue, great sound. Because there's nothing worse than seeing a good band in a shitty environment. You know? it's not good. You know?
You're right. So Kip and Woody, any other shows coming up outside of the August 10th with backing up Susan?
Right now, no. That's the only one we have on the books.
Okay.
Because I was well, a little bird told me that you guys were focusing on the album. The new
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And approximately how many songs will it contain?
Pardon me?
How many songs?
Oh, we're not sure yet.
We were trying to figure that out tonight.
He's trying to extract information from you.
I know.
Slowly. You know, he's going to put a little bit of Patois on there so you don't understand what he's saying and you probably answer it wrong, you know, or answer him thinking, you know.
Yeah, I get it. Trying to keep it secret. That's all.
Yeah, that's right. We mentioned early on in this interview that Paul took part in part 4 of our History of LA Ska panel discussion at the Grand Museum. Kip, you took part in part 2, which was fall of 2019, if my memory.
I was at that one. Yeah. Darren was on there. Angelo.
Yeah. Chris Murray, Tazy. Yeah. So that all of these actually can also be found online at the Grand Museum, or you can go to our.
I'm glad you remember to plug that. Yes.
Or you can go to our History of LA Ska Instagram account, and then you can find those on there. Paul, I'm going to ask you this is a personal question. I grew up a big wrestling fan. So since December of 1983, that's when I got the wrestling bug, and have watched on and off since. 2-part question. One is, have you been a longtime wrestling fan? And part 2, share some of the exciting news about your daughter.
So not ever been a big time wrestling fan. Total serendipity how this thing fell into place. And my daughter Calix, her name Sol Ruka, went straight from the University of Oregon right into WWE. Never had a regular job or anything. Like that's just like, you know, it's the best thing for us, for someone, you know. You're like, you know, you just go into this whole thing, and she's always been very, very tenacious and is a gym rat and is really competitive. Like first one in the gym, last one to leave.
Wow,
and
Michael,
you know, just way into it. So she just really embraces, because for a lot of women's sports, you know, there's not a lot after college, you know, really there isn't. So she almost got this little, kind of was bummed, you know, through her senior year. And then it was right after COVID when she graduated. So there was a lot of people who were kind of, you know, uncertain of what was to come after college. But she got the call from an Oregon alumni who just invited her to the tryouts. She made the cut, and then, you know, she freaking just killed it and just created some moves out of her gymnastics background. And then she got injured and she tore her ACL and lateral meniscus in 2022, like May, and then she was out for 9 months. But then now she's back in it, and she's back wrestling, and they have the first women's national championship up for grabs at Battleground on June 9th when we're at the Glass House, and it's in Vegas. So my wife's not going to be there. She's going to be in Vegas watching Calix wrestle.
She can give
and
you.
This is when they climb the ladder to get the belt. So fuck, I'm gonna miss that shit. That sucks. But
well, that's super exciting. Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, it's great. No, it's really exciting. And I can't believe that professional wrestling it's big as shit right now. You see how massive WrestleMania is? It's like Super Bowl. It's bigger than, it's like a whole weekend, because you have NXT, then you have freaking, the WrestleMania, and then you got, well, first it starts Friday Night SmackDown, NXT, WrestleMania, and then you have Raw. So it's like this whole freaking, and the people are just
that genre of entertainment is insane, man. You got like 100,000 people in a stadium type stuff going on. By the way, man, I watched it every weekend. Macho Man, Andre the Giant, British Bulldogs. I knew what it was, but it's like, it was so entertaining. It didn't matter if it was scripted or not. It was just fun to watch.
Oh, it is. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you there. Yeah, no, it's massive, and the merch sales.
Macho Man.
Merch sales. Yeah, man. I mean, so next year WrestleMania is going to be in Vegas, April. It was in Philadelphia this last time, but yeah, dude, it's just bigger and bigger and bigger. Because I think what it is too is that they're starting to bring in athletes versus just so the performances are getting better. People are pushing the envelope. They're doing crazier things, and it's entertainment. It's sports entertainment, but it's scripted. But they get hurt. Like, they really put a lot into it.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Rhea Ripley just freaking is out.
Right. I saw that.
So my part in words. Well, it's a question essentially. You guys remember the show in 1989? How many were appeared on the show? 1989, right off the 60 freeway. I think, Paul, we were doing something.
Yeah, it was just Jonas and I were in that one.
Oh, Jonas and I, right.
It's just because you did it.
Yeah, they used to call me New Kid because I was trying to branch out with promoting. I had absolutely no idea. And I for the life of me, I've been trying to remember when was that show. Yeah, Montebello, right after 60 freeway. So I think I mentioned before, Jin J.
It was Jonas and I, and Mark was the bass player. And
okay.
Then Mark. So that was phase one. Phase two, because it was.
I've been on you guys before, way before I knew Eric. Wow.
Yeah.
Indeed. I was trying to remember if that was the Poor Man, because remember when Poor Man interviewed us too?
No, maybe he was doing the Poor Fest.
Was that around the same time?
No, Junor Francis did it. Yeah, he did a thing. He was up and coming. Like, you were promoting shows. Like, what show you ever did, right?
You were brand new.
Was it like the first show you ever did?
No, when it was going to be a weekly. So my first show was his name is Kip and Woody, but I had a lot of celebrities in the house. God Dennis, Don Carlos, Scott. I had more celebrity than because it wasn't well advertised. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it was doing Miss West calendar, so I mentioned it and I printed up 50 flyers. I took them to record and I dropped off some in Pomona because I was new to town and didn't know the area. So
right.
But
did you ever meet Makeda Dread from San Diego?
Yeah, years after that.
Because they used to do a lot of stuff with the Skeletones and have us come down to San Diego and play a lot of shows. So I didn't know if you knew her or not.
No, I didn't know her then.
Oh, okay.
You belly up.
I think I was going through a middle-aged crisis. I was desperately want to do a show.
Hey,
MC man.
Well,
I know you're rather
well.
So I just wanted to tell you a quick little story, random story, Junior. So I'm with my girlfriend at the time. We're in LA. We're at the El Rey Theater. Alton Ellis is headlining. Okay. So Alton Ellis, big time Jamaican, like old school rocksteady reggae artist, right?
And what year
Alton
was that now? What year?
Oh man, that was in the 2000s. I want to say
are you talking about, you're talking about the big show?
It was like 2000, 2007. Alton Ellis.
That's not the El Rey. It wouldn't be the El Rey.
I think it was a show in LA. I think it was the El Rey Theater, maybe.
Larger than life.
So I go inside the show, but you know, I'm so used to having access to the backstage. I want to go backstage, right? But I don't have an all access pass, but I'm going to go backstage. So I go back, I'm going to the side of the stage. Alton Ellis is on stage performing, okay? This bouncer is like 7 feet tall, 300 pounds. He's like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I told him, I'm on stage. I'm with Alton Ellis. I need to get back there now. And the bouncer tells me, if I don't see you on stage singing when you get back there, I'm coming to find your ass. I'm kicking you out. So I go past, he lets me go through. I go on stage. I am now on stage singing backup vocals with Alton Ellis. And Alton Ellis looks at me and he's like, who is this guy? But I know the song and I'm singing it. I know the lyrics and I'm perfectly singing it. And then Alton, this is what scared me. Alton points me out live on stage to the audience. He goes, go ahead, man, you go. And he lets me freestyle and I start freestyling. And luckily I didn't fuck up. And I did a good job.
That is amazing. So the expanders were backing him at that show.
I think so,
oh,
yeah.
Cool.
And then you know who else was there? Was Tazy Phillips. So Tazy Phillips was backstage, and the look on his face was like, "What the hell are you doing, dude?"
This
But
was
yeah.
the show.
I think that might be
crazy.
the one, dude.
Sunday, June 11th. Okay.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Alton Ellis, Derek Morgan, Pat Kelly, Dennis Al Capone, Owen Gray.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just if you guys ever lie and say you're supposed to be on stage singing, you better be prepared to sing. That's all I gotta say.
Yes. That's not something that I can do.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's amazing.
Hey, are you guys are obviously going to be at the show, right? So
Oh yes.
Are you going to have like a booth, or are you going to have your own like setup there? What?
No, but I'm gonna see about Junior welcoming some of the bands on stage, because it'll be quite the wonderful festival. But we'll definitely be there.
I think I've been passing out flyers for this.
And then the
that's for sure.
and then we'll definitely see the Debs and crew at the August 10th show.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, this has been wonderful and exciting, and congratulations too. Looking forward to seeing everyone. Any parting words before we say goodnight?
Yeah, if you guys want to introduce us at the No Values, by all means.
Values.
And for those who are not able to make the No Values, you guys will be performing the following night at the Glass House. Tell us, give us the details if you have it. Huh?
Yeah, so that's a show that is that was another thing we got hit up by John Halpern. It's like, hey, can you guys do this show? You know, Red Stripe. But yeah, no. So it came. Oh my god, dude, I had one of those recorders.
The show is sold out, right? No Values is sold out. So we may as well.
No Values may have some VIP tickets left.
I think there's some a few tickets left.
Are there a few tickets left?
Yes, I believe so. And then the Glass House show, yes, just went on sale recently. That's a big one, right?
And
Yeah.
that's
Selector.
three legends.
Yep. So that's going to be Bite Me, Bambi, us,
right.
and the skeleton.
You can ask for more in one night.
That'll be a fun one too.
What's our time? What's our time slot, Paul? Manager Paul.
You know, so these guys. So I've been working with them since last week and this week, and I talked to GV, and they're all over the place because they got Cruel World this weekend. You know, and so I talked to but each person does certain things. So I talked to Shawnee,
Cheney.
And
Yep.
Cheney, yeah. And she has nothing to do with guests. She's like, you got to call Sabrina, you know, who's Paul's assistant. So she's like, hit up Sabrina, but Cheney is handling, you know, just that. They send everything. They send you a link, right? And you have to go in and put everyone's name, what kind of car they're driving, what food choices, any allergies. Like, there's a lot of shit, dude. It's crazy.
I mean, that's for the nobody. That's for nobody. Right?
What was that?
For the glass out.
No, for no values. Yeah.
This is for no values. Yeah, no values. Yeah, there's 4 shows where there's 4 stages. There's 2 regular stages and 2 turn stages where bands are playing it. You know, rotates. 2 of those sort of total
I love those. Those are my favorite.
They have no idea who's playing when. There's no time set up. You know, it's kind of there. She straight said, don't expect to hear from production until May 30th.
There's but if my information is correct, there is a there's a stage for you guys specifically.
Yes, discuss.
Yeah. Well, we didn't. She doesn't even know. She doesn't know which one it is.
Okay.
She just said there's 4 stages.
More details to come. It's going to be.
If we're God willing, we'll be in a good time slot, right? Hopefully, we won't be the first band, right?
And it won't be in the bad time slot.
Hopefully, we'll be like 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Hopefully, we'll see.
How many people?
I'm not holding my breath.
But they're expecting 40,000. They can't be bad time slot.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
I was told they've sold 40,000 tickets.
So how can there be a bad time slot?
Yeah. No.
True.
No, I know. People will be there. It'll always be good. And then if you didn't see us then, you'll see us the next night.
There we go. The next
Fantastic.
night. Indeed. Yeah.
But it's going to be we're all totally pumped up about it. There's some other things that are coming out that you'll be seeing that Golden Voice is putting together too. So they're putting a lot of, you know what? Here's a little insight. So, this is from Mike Rocchio, who he does a lot of, he's really tight with production of Coachella and everything. And he mentioned that they spent a lot of resources that should have been spent on Coachella into no values, in regards to like promoting and they'd like to do a lot of fan favorites like boxes, gift boxes, ticket boxes, pamphlets, little things. So they're gonna do some really cool stuff for no values. And I bring it up because they really want to, like Jonas was saying, they may make this an annual thing,
it has to be.
So they're really putting a lot of energy on this, but Golden Voice, their staff is thin or not thin, they've just been on, they've just been going since Coachella.
From the desert to Pasadena Festival's coming up, yeah.
Yeah, it's festival season, Cruel World, and then they have the other one with Cruel World is the Just Like Heaven. Yeah, and then all these things. So, but they're all they have good spirits. Shane's freaking a pleasure to talk to. She's happy, very accommodating. Whatever you need, call so and so. It's just we just got to be patient, roll with the punches, and know that they got our best interests at hand. So
the cool thing too, guys, really quick before we stop. So we haven't been together as a group in one room playing music in a long time, right? So our first rehearsal was weeks ago. So I'm running late, right? Surprise. So everybody's in there, they're playing. And I tell you what, dude, I get inside, I close the door, I get on the mic, and it was one of those things that was amazing in a good way, where it was like, we hadn't been together in years, but when we got together and we played that rehearsal that day, when we were done that night, I was like, damn, we're like 90% ready to go. So that was a good sign, it was like, wow, we're ready to go. So,
I mean, technically we could probably play the show now. It would be really sketchy. I'd be scared and nervous, but we could probably
I'm going to say no, but I'm pretty OCD. I'm sure all the rest of the guys that feel this, we're pretty OCD. We want to put on a good show. We want to be tight. We want to make sure everything's tight. So we're going to have a few more rehearsals before these shows come up, but we'll be ready. We'll be ready. It's going to be really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, super excited. We will see you there, both at No Values on June 8th and then June 9th at the Glass House.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Skeletones, and then the Debs August 10th at the Glass House, backing up
Yeah.
Susan Cadogan.
Yes.
Any parting words, gentlemen? Any parting words?
Keep the ska flame burning.
Nice. I love that.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
6 p.m. rehearsal, room 7, Sunday, Mother's Day.
It's open.
Gotta drop my kids off first.
Yeah. Hey man, you guys are more than welcome to come. If you want to come to the rehearsal studio, come on down.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Well, thank you. No, we appreciate it, Paul, Jonas, Kip, Woody. Definitely thank you for making the time, and thank you for all the wonderful performances and music over the years too, and all your contributions to the scene and being some great guys too. So,
and I think it goes without saying it's been fun.
It has.
Always. It's always fun.
Reminiscing.
For me, this is like a reunion, 1989.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
The only thing I got to convince all the guys is to put on suits. We'll see what happens.
Oh man.
In June, outside. In
June suits.
Or at least some braces. Damn, let's go.
Wow.
All right, I think we have to put the stopper on.
Suit up, bro.
It's been a ball. It's been fun. And please, I encourage everyone to subscribe to this podcast series on our YouTube channel. Follow at History of LA Ska on Instagram and join our Facebook group. This series is produced by Rockery Radio, which is run by my good friend here, Eric Kohler.
And I want to thank Junor Francis for everything he does, not only for this interview series, but also just for the scene and being such an incredible wealth of knowledge, Junor, and a wonderful friend. And again, thank you all for the ongoing support. Please do your part to preserve, promote, and celebrate the scene. And I will say, in our parting words, come out and put on your dancing shoes and enjoy yourself. And until next time, much love and be well, everyone. Guys, take care.
Right.
Junor.
Love you guys.
All right.
Be well. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care, everyone.
See you guys Sunday.
Thanks, y'all.